pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible.
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please take the roll.
Councilmember Cooper?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Here.
Mayor Zielinski?
Here.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Here.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Here.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Here.
City Manager?
Here.
City Attorney?
Here.
DPW Director?
Here.
Finance Director?
Here.
Public Safety Director?
Here.
Planning and Zoning Director? In his place. Okay, thank you.
Before we go any further, I'd like to take a moment to recognize Alto Goodsby, who passed away. It's my understanding he was a chaplain for the police and fire for a few years. Could we observe a moment of silence for him, please? Thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Citizens' comments on agenda-related items. Do we have any citizens that'd like to comment on agenda-related items tonight? State your name and address,
My name is Mike Herbert.
and limit your
Where do I live,
comments to
Dale?
5 minutes.
306 Hancock.
Very good. First of all, I'd like to offer my congratulations to everyone involved for the conclusions reached and the actions taken so far as regarding the MRTMA. I'd especially like to commend Rob Carson for his efforts in this matter. However, now that you've all garnered above the fold attention with photographs in the paper, other communities are going to be piling on here. And in order to make Manistee stand out and to garner that statewide headlines and the attention of investors and that pent-up market in quest of a welcoming community, I suggest that council steal Ann Arbor's thunder and make the consequences for the first-time consumption, public consumption of marijuana, a $20 fine. Manistee has paid outside consulting firms tens of thousands of dollars to suggest economic strategies and branding and marketing ideas, and here it is for free. No charge, gratis, pro bono. If you'll just accept this economic gift and take that stance. I hope one of you will have the forethought to make that motion tonight, and council will enact that motion. You will be lauded for your grasp of the economic possibilities. If you choose not to, you will be turning away a nearly unprecedented economic gift. Please don't turn that gift away. You get to decide tonight. On a different matter, but somewhat the same, I question this new ordinance, this fire ordinance. Has there been a single structure fire created by a backyard recreational fire? Are there statistics to justify the necessity for this further intrusion by the government into the lives of the people? Government seems to have this almost pathological need to control. We have a fire in our side yard, and there isn't nearly that kind of room. I know Chip has a fire pit in his yard, and he doesn't have that kind of room. Yet neither of us have burned down the adjacent buildings or our own. There have been some complaints, I understand. Well, if your neighbors are complaining that your cat is harassing the neighborhood birds, are you going to make an ordinance against cats? I think this really needs more consideration. I just can't agree with this one either. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment on agenda-related items? Seeing none, we'll move on to the, oops, I'm sorry.
Good evening. I'm Valerie Bergstrom, 1224 Critter Trail, and I'm a board member of the Manistee Downtown Development Authority, and was also on the hiring committee to hire the executive director for the DDA. I want to say we've got Caitlin here with us, and I want to share a little background. She's got a master's degree from Wayne State University in urban planning and development, and a bachelor's of arts in business and organization from Albion. She's currently employed with the Albion Economic Development Corporation as the Economic Development Coordinator. And I was going to quote one of her references, who said, "Caitlin has great education and background, a thirst to understand. She's a great communicator, she's vivacious, and she has a thirst to learn, and she has tons of drive." I am going to ask respectfully that the City Council approve the hire of Caitlin Berard as the Executive Director for the Downtown Development Authority. And we feel she's well-suited for the position and the responsibilities. Thank you, and I'm going to let Caitlin introduce herself, if that's all right.
Thank you, Valerie. Although now that she did such a good job, maybe I don't have to read this. My name is Caitlin Mary Berard. I am applying for the Executive Director position for the Manistee Downtown Development Authority. And with my experience in an RRC Project Rising Tide town, my urban planning positions, and my interest in serving in Manistee, it would be an honor to serve with the Downtown Development Authority. I'm a recent graduate from Wayne State University with my master's in urban planning and development with a concentration in housing and community development. It was learning from my parents' Detroit apartment buildings as a kid that encouraged my passion for community and business development through their block projects and service weekends. In high school, I was able to participate in community development projects in Ecuador from 2009 through 2011, providing more insight on a holistic approach to city betterment. Since these opportunities, I've been a part-time urban planner since 2013 in Marshall, Detroit, Pontiac, and Albion, Michigan. I'm currently the Economic Development Coordinator at the Albion Economic Development Corporation, assisting with industrial investment and workforce development. I'm a staff representative for the Albion Economic Development Corporation, Brownfield Redevelopment Association, and TIFA board meetings. I'm currently taking courses for my economic development certification through the International Economic Development Corporation, in addition to attending my own conferences and toolbox sessions to stay informed, expand my knowledge, and meet new partners to practice these creative solutions for our often diverse projects. So thank you, Council, for the opportunity to meet you tonight. And thank you to those of you that came and met me at the North Channel Brewery earlier this month. It was a pleasure to meet many of you during this process, and I look forward to working with you soon.
Thank you, Caitlin.
David Homer, 909 High Street in Aaron's district. Aaron, I would like to ask you to table the fire code. We have about a dozen people in our district who have an actual open pit, and we use it every summertime to lower our cost. We cook on them. These are things that we use to lower cost. The one house that burned in our district over the last 3 years that I've been there was from the meth lab. It was not from an open fire pit. These would be considered open burning. Right now, there was an understanding of our neighborhood association that we could use those for food as long as there was a state fire burning allowed permit on the website. So I'd ask you to table this so that we could look into what actually, there's no amendment sitting there so that I could look at the actual wording as to whether that will change our neighborhood and our district. And I'd like to look into that before there's an actual decision made on this. I would appreciate the rest of the council to just table it till the next one and to look into that for me. Thank you.
there anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are on the consent agenda and considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to the approval of the consent agenda, any member of council may have an item from the consent agenda removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Consent agenda items include approval of minutes, payroll, invoices, consideration of ordinance 19-14, chapter 867, recreational marijuana, consideration of ordinance 19-15, amending chapter 288, pay commission, consideration of ordinance 19-16, amendment to chapter 282, downtown development authority, notification regarding next work session, consideration of American Legion poppy sales. At this time, council could take action to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes,
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Motion passed.
thank you. Unfinished business, we have one. Consideration of approving the Downtown Development Authority proposed budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. This item was tabled at the May 7th meeting, and we also had a lot of discussion on that at the last work session. The City of Manistee is required by state statutes to approve the budget of the Downtown Development Authority before it can be adopted by the Downtown Development Board. The DDA presents their proposed budget to City Council at the April 16th City Council work session. If approved by Council, the Downtown Development Authority Board must still hold a public hearing on their budget and vote to adopt it. At this time, Council could take action to approve the Downtown Development Authority proposed budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. No second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper? Yes. Mayor Zelinski?
Yes,
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Motion passed.
thank you. New business. Consideration of ordinance Z 19-11, small cell wireless facilities. Legislation enacted by the state of Michigan require amendments to the city zoning ordinance to differentiate between small cell and standard wireless communication facilities. Ordinance Z 19-11 was approved and recommended by the City Planning Commission. County Planner Rob Carlson also recommended this ordinance amendment. As an ordinance, two separate readings are required. If the ordinance is introduced this evening, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council can take action to introduce zoning ordinance Z 19-11, amending Article 2, Article 3, Article 5, and Article 18 of the Manistee City zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Consideration of ordinance 19-17, chapter 6, or 866, medical marijuana. The city attorney has drafted ordinance 19-17, amending section of chapter 866 of the City of Manistee Codified Ordinance to permit medical marijuana provisioning centers within certain sections of the city. The location of provisioning centers will be addressed with a zoning ordinance amendment and are intended to be the same in number and location as marijuana retailers under the recreational marijuana establishment ordinance. There's been one change in that ordinance. Mr. Saylor, would you please take?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just for clarification, and what council received in its agenda package was the ordinance as drafted, but it was pointed out this morning to me that in our restrictions under medical marijuana, we still had a provision that said you can't dispense marijuana from a facility, and also that it was restricted so that you could not have exterior signage outside of marijuana facility. Now, that applied when we were talking about just grow operation, processing, safety compliance, but we were not considering provisioning centers at the time. With the addition of provisioning centers, it was felt that we need to delete those two sections, and so I presented to council a corrected ordinance that would include deleting under section 86605 items O and P relating to dispensing and exterior signage.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Saylor? As an ordinance, 2 separate readings are required. If this ordinance is introduced this evening, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council could take action to introduce ordinance 19-17, chapter 866, medical marijuana.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Grabowski,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Smansky,
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of ordinance 19-18, amending chapter 1610, International Fire Code. The Manistee Fire Department has received a number of complaints about open burning within the city. The city has certain requirements regarding open burning in chapter 674, and also by the adoption of the International Fire Code in section 1610. The fire department requests some additional language be added to the section 1610, allowing for more specified regulations for recreational fires so that what is authorized is more clear for residents and enforceable by fire officials. As an ordinance, 2 separate readings are required. If this ordinance is introduced this evening, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council could take action to introduce ordinance 19-18, amending chapter 1610, International Fire Code. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Can you explain more about the amendment and what the specific steps are so we can share whoever made?
Tim, did you want to address that?
Can you explain what the amendment is towards for everybody?
When I met with the fire marshal, we have had several complaints about the burning of components that aren't supposed to be burned, the noxious gases, the closeness to a structure, those type of things. We met, and then we met with the city attorney to try draft language to try to make it more specific as to the distance that you can have it from an occupied structure or from your neighbor's structure. The question that was raised earlier about cooking, it's still allowed under our city ordinance for food on an open burn.
This isn't time for questions, sir. Go ahead.
There is allowance for an open burning for cooking food, as long as there's a grate.
Okay.
That has not changed. The biggest thing is the distance.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, the International Fire Code and our ordinance already had restrictions on open burning. It was more of just, as the public safety director has indicated, it was mostly just to address how far you had to be from property lines, from structures, from public walkways. That's really what I think is the primary difference in the changes.
So just so that I'm clear, because I wasn't sure that I heard this properly, the open burning does allow for cooking?
Correct.
Okay.
And what's the distance between structures? What was, do you remember offhand? I'm sure I can find it in my notes, but.
We've gone over a couple different distances. I wish I had Brent here to tell you. I want to say it was
It was at least 15.
15 and,
15 feet.
15 feet.
15 and 25.
Yep.
Have there been any structure fires because of the?
We've had structure fires just as a result of people having cigarette burn barrels next to their house. So I can't say that having a large open campfire that could be left unattended can't possibly cause a structure fire or a grass fire or a woods fire. I can't predict that, so I think it's just for the safety of everybody.
Well, I've had neighbors complain about fires in their backyards are a disturbance to other neighbors that are close to it. They got open windows, not everybody has central air where they can close their windows, get a lot of smoke in the house from neighbors. So that's the kind of complaints that I've heard.
It's a big educational piece for us. Usually when we're out and we get our first calls on this, we go out and we educate. We've been out already, I think, 3 times within the last week, reference calls. A lot of these calls directly come to the fire department on these, so then we go out there to make contact, to let them know what they can and cannot be doing, so.
Mr. Kozel, this ordinance, how does this compare to other cities, like cities to Manistee?
We did look at, I think, 5 different peer cities to try to duplicate what they have, and I think theirs is even a little bit more stricter than ours. We wanted to try to accommodate, the smaller yards, but we also want to be able to not have it so close to your neighbor, especially with our close houses, that it could be within 6-8 feet of their house. So we try to make it as best as possible, not trying to prevent people with having it, but we are very similar to a lot of our neighboring jurisdictions.
And I understand there's there is a difference between a chimenea and an open burn pit?
Correct. I think within our actual ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Saylor, that if it's closer, I think, that you have to have it within an enclosed type system, with a top on it, that has the grates around it, the commercial, I think it actually speaks on. It has to be within a commercial structure, a commercial vessel, when it's closer to your house.
Anybody else? I just have one thing to say. I don't think the ordinance goes far enough, as far as I'm concerned. I don't like the smoke issue. I get a lot of complaints from neighbors about the smoke that gets in their house. Even if they shut their windows, it still gets in, and they smell like campfire for a while.
And we discussed that at length, but that's the hardest thing, I think, for us to enforce, is one person's belief that it is obnoxious might not be somebody else's, and how are we to determine sometimes in those instances? So we sort of stayed away from that.
Yeah, I just think it's a health issue for some people,
Oh, I agree.
and maybe in the future we'll be dealing with that.
I definitely agree with you. It's just, I think, very hard for us to be able to have teeth to enforce that.
Sure, okay.
Okay?
Anything else? Please take the roll.
Mayor Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski,
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper. Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of confirming Caitlin Berard as a new full-time executive director for the Manistee Downtown Development Authority. Over the past several weeks, the recruitment committee of the DDA board has been interviewing candidates for the DDA executive director position. Caitlin Berard was recommended to the DDA board for this position at a special meeting held Tuesday, May 14th, 2019. The DDA approved the hiring of Ms. Berard and is now recommending final approval to City Council. At this time, Council could take action to accept the recommendation of the DDA Board and approve the hiring of Caitlin Berard as the new Manistee Downtown Development Authority Executive Director. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Any discussion?
Yes. Going back in time to when we had our former DDA Executive Director, Tyler Lebanon, one of the things that City Council did is we take our responsibilities seriously, especially in approving somebody that we haven't actually interviewed. So we did ask for, at that time, a copy of Tyler's resume, and we did have an opportunity to meet him before we approved his hiring. And I would just like to remind the DDA that I had asked pretty politely for a copy of Caitlin's resume, did not receive it, but thanks to the internet and thanks to Caitlin being on LinkedIn, I was able to pull your resume off and supply everybody on City Council with a copy of your resume, even though I did not get it directly from the DDA. So that is why I am in favor of you being the new DDA director, but I gotta be honest with the DDA board members, I wouldn't have been able to say that if I did not have a resume. So, those are my comments.
Well, I was wondering, I know some of us have discussed before, is a council person ever gonna be on the DDA board to do the interviews? Question is somebody ever gonna be on, from the council, on the interviews when they're hiring a new person?
I think we can take that up at a later date. We've got this motion in front of us we gotta deal with, so. let's- Sure. Yeah.
I provided all that over a week ago to the city manager's office to prepare for the agenda, so the city council should have received all the information, including the resume. There were 3 or 4 items, so I just wanted you to know that. When I filled out the form for the place on the agenda, there was 3 or 4 items. The application, the resume.
I don't recall seeing it.
It was in our packet for this meeting.
If it was, then I'm sorry. But I did pull it after the meet and greet, so.
Well, I know the DDA has spent a lot of time interviewing people, spending a lot of time doing the right thing. I trust their decision. I support this motion, so anybody else have anything to say? Hearing none, call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of a local pavement warranty program. The Michigan legislature created a requirement for all cities and villages in Michigan to adopt and implement a local pavement warranty program. The program creates a consistent method of communities to consider warranty requirements for paving projects over $2 million, utilizing state and federal funding. At this time, council could take action to approve a resolution, to adopt a resolution, to implement for a local pavement warranty program. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of a purchase of a Western Star single-axle plow truck and equipment. The adopted fiscal year budget 2019-2020 budget includes $180,000 for the purchase of a plow truck. Michigan Deal's quotes were received from D&K Trucking Company for the cab and chassis in the amount of $107,202, and the truck and trailer specifications for the equipment in the amount of $67,425. The total cost of $174,627. Financing will be competitively bid through the Finance Department prior to delivery. At this time, council could take action to approve the Department of Public Works to accept the proposal from D&K Truck Company and truck and trailer specifications for a 2020 Western Star 4700 plow truck and associated equipment package. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of pay commission bylaw amendment. The pay commission took action at their April 1st, 2019 meeting to review and approve changes to their bylaws. Amendments include reducing members from 7 to 5 and reducing meeting quorum from 4 to 3. At this time, council could take action to approve amendments to the bylaws from the Manistee Pay Commission and authorize the mayor to execute the document. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pontiac? Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper? Yes. Mayor Zelinski?
Yes,
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Motion passed.
thank you. Consideration of a lot split at 4080 Water Street. A request has been received from Mr. Dennis Johnson, owner of 480 Water Street, to split partial 51-365-701-01, the east 15-foot of Lot 6 and all of Lot 5, Block 1 of CE Marsh Addition, to a neighboring parcel immediately to the west partial 51-365-701-13. The Planning Commission has reviewed the recommendation. The Planning Commission has reviewed and recommends this action. County Planner Rob Carlson also recommends this property split. At this time, council could take action to adopt a lot split for Dennis Johnson, 480 Water Street, a portion of partial 51-365-701-01 to partial 51-365-701-13. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Notice and communications. Tonight, we're gonna have a talk from Mr. Jeff Pula, the activities of Public Works. 3 minutes? Okay, we'll time him.
All right, and I'm moving over there so I don't get
We only have,
eye again.
it's only taken 35 minutes, but I thought I'd take up another hour.
Meeting adjourned.
So Public Works is made up of a lot of different things in the city. We always joke that if it's not illegal or not on fire, it's Public Works. But we're just gonna quickly run through the streets, street department, fleet maintenance, parks, refuse, and utilities. The utilities are gonna do a presentation, an annual update. I think it's next month, so I won't get into much detail on that. So we've got the director, deputy director, Kathy, our administrative assistant, and then we've got approximately 35 between our full-time and part-time employees throughout the year. Under the administration, Kathy deals with several hundred phone calls every day with citizen inquiries. She does a wonderful job providing information and guiding people to the right places. We also do project management on all the construction and capital improvement projects that are going on from year to year. We've had a lot of paving contracts in the last few years, lots of grant applications, and trying to push the money as far as we can and leverage it. We've got the 12th Street construction project from Maple to 31. We actually have the pre-con for that tomorrow. That project will start up in the next couple weeks and will be closed down. That stretch of street will be closed down for most of the summer. We're working on implementing the Lucidity, which is a software program that we purchased through the SAW grant that we just completed. So it's kind of taking all of our asset management information, putting it together in one place, and then allow us to do work inquiries and manage that information and put it at the fingertips of our staff out in the field. We've talked just about every meeting about the wet weather corrective action program and for various projects that we're in the design process right now for. Within the Public Works, there's over 13 different budgets that we're responsible for. We deal a lot with the Department of Transportation and what used to be the Department of Environmental Quality, but is now, the new acronym is EAGLE, or the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. We do all of the purchasing and planning, and then do a lot of work with developers and plan reviews. In the street department, We're responsible for all the road maintenance and winter maintenance, sidewalks, all parking lots, forestry work, which is all the trees within the city property or within the right-of-ways. We've got a contract with US 31 to operate Memorial Bridge and then also do maintenance on US 31 as well as the Maple Street Bridge operations. As you just approved tonight, the single plow truck or the single axle plow truck, the reason why I brought that forward is simply because there's such a huge demand on the orders for those trucks as the economy is recovering. This gives us about a 5-month to 6-month head start on trying to get delivery of it within the next fiscal year. But there's a good chance that that truck won't be completed until the following fiscal year. I've got a slide on the progress of our sidewalk program and annual beach maintenance. We had some concerns with the photo that we showed with the pile of sand that was adjacent to the seawall at Fifth Avenue Beach. We've met with the county as far as soil erosion and are in full compliance there. This week we also met with representatives from the U.S. Corps of Engineers and the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. It's going to take some getting used to. Everything that we're doing is in full compliance with the state and federal regulations. And so we just kind of added a little bit of communication so that they're aware on an annual basis what we're doing. But everything that we do is above the ordinary high water mark, and the beach maintenance actually does not require the state or federal permits. So we just brought them up here to confirm that.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
On definitions, a lot of people have been referring to that as a dune that should not have been removed. So what is the definition of a dune?
Well, the way that the, first of all, the city of there's nothing in the city of Manistee limits that is considered a critical dune. The critical dunes are areas that are have been defined by the state as having dune formations that are fragile and unstable, and the permitted activities within those are extremely restricted. We don't have any sort of those restrictions in the city. So if literally if we wanted to go behind the condos at Harbor Village that butt right up to city property and do some grading in there, that's fully lawful as long as we're meeting the soil erosion control measures.
Okay.
There's nothing that protects that. The other thing is, and you can just barely see it, but the reason why the sand accumulated at this location is because there are large stones placed along the seawall, and that's for overtopping of the breakwater and wave protection. So that area is not able to be groomed and maintained on an annual basis by our beach cleaner, so sand accumulates there, and we've looked back into the history in our records, and it's probably at about in a 5 to 7 year range where we've always taken that back out and spread it on the beach. The Corps' only concern was just making sure we don't bring equipment too close to the edge of that wall where we're adding too much surcharge or weight on top of that wall. But it's just a normal maintenance thing for us. And the reason why we did is because once the sand starts to build up, then it comes down on the south side and it covers the sidewalk, and we take calls just about every day during the summer to clean the sand off of that. The other thing is the sand will actually go past the sidewalk and goes into the channel. And if you look at the Corps of Engineers soundings of the Manistee Harbor, there's always a shoal or a sandbar that occurs right along that wall from that sand migration and overtopping it. So it took our guys a day and a half to clean that out, and it'll save hundreds and hundreds of hours of maintenance during the summertime. So there's just a couple quick slides based on that. We've got over $3 million of street work currently approved in the TIP, and we're working through that. The sidewalk program, the double hatched area on the top is areas where we've done the sidewalk saw cutting to remove trip hazards. And again, that's a process that's about 25% of the cost of removing and replacing. And anywhere that there's a trip hazard that's 2 inches or about half the thickness of the slab or less, we're generally able to do that saw cutting at a reduced cost. And then the areas that are single hatch are where they've advanced that saw cutting, and the double cross hatch is where we've actually followed behind them, and any sidewalks that they haven't been able to remove the trip hazard through that method, then our crews are doing the removal and replacement. So we're trying to keep them about a year ahead of us. They actually came in January to try to finish up what they couldn't finish up last fall, and then returned about a month ago. And so our crews will start this summer, continuing through the center of town, and then we'll be starting our work on Maxwell Town next. Yes?
Question. You know, in some areas of the sidewalks, you have tree roots that are literally pulling up 3 or 4 sections, and they're crowning those sections where they're maybe 18 to 2 feet above the grade of the rest of that sidewalk.
Right.
And so what's the procedure when you have a situation like that? And there's a few of those in town.
Yeah, most of the heave sidewalks are caused by the roots. We are blessed to have a lot of trees within the right-of-ways. It beautifies the city, but it also creates those type of issues. Most of those heave sidewalks are due to the root activity, and as the roots grow, they pop them up. When we go through, and if they can't be saw cut, we'll remove those and then remove the roots enough where we can re-pour over the top of them. In some instances, you have to take out so much root that we also then have to take the tree out as well.
Okay, thank you.
This year, we participated with the City Police Department and the Manistee County Sheriff to do an auction. I know that the Public Works portion of that was exceeded $18,000 of proceeds, and we were able to get rid of a lot of excess equipment and free up a lot of space, and also put money back into the general fund. Is that where you put it, Ed? Where did you put the proceeds of the auction?
Some of it was the general fund, some of it.
We've continued our reduction in salt consumption and sand consumption. Our salt usage is down about 50% over what it was 5 years ago, and our sand usage is down about 90%. That's really just getting the guys educated and the right equipment in for them, so that we can have the same impact on the streets, keeping them safe during the wintertime, but not using as much product. And those savings are in the neighborhood of $55,000 a year. Salt prices are skyrocketing, so that savings increases each year. Last 2 winters, we've done 3 shifts during the wintertime. When we get our bridge tenders back, it allows us additional staff, and we've been able to spread that over 3 shifts, beginning Sunday night through Friday night. And it's allowed us to get a better jump on the streets when storms occur, a little bit earlier start on the downtown area before all the businesses open up, and then also making sure that the major streets are plowed before school opens up. My kids stopped asking if we were going to have a snow day for school, because I keep telling them, well, they'll never close it because of the city streets. So we take a lot of pride in that. Under fleet maintenance, we maintain over 65 pieces of equipment. It's predominantly done by with one mechanic and 1 assistant mechanic. Jeremy was off on sick leave for 3 months earlier this year, and we had the guys rallied around, and everybody pitched in and kept things going. And we've talked about this in the past, but our preventative maintenance program has been accelerated greatly, and we're trying to do a lot of creative purchasing and leasing, so that we're reducing the impact on the motor pool. Our assistant mechanic is also our welder and fabricator, and these are just a couple pictures of projects that he's done. He replaced the old grills that we had. They were rotted out. The community uses them for all kinds of different events, and we built all that in-house. The work that he's been doing is, in the investment we made on the equipment for him, has paid off numerous times already in the first couple years that he's been here. This year we participated with Manistee Area Public Schools on a work-based education. So we had a student come for 2 to 3 hours each afternoon and work with some of our guys, kind of getting hands-on. I think it was a tremendous experience for the student, but it was also a tremendous experience for our staff to be able to take some pride in what they do and be able to teach people the skills of their trade and get them excited and moving forward in their careers. So I plan on working with the schools and trying to recruit some additional opportunities in the future. In the Parks Department, we've got 18 city parks that we're responsible for all the maintenance activities. That includes 9 restrooms that from Memorial Day through October get cleaned every single day of the week. And during the heart of the summer season, they get cleaned sometimes twice on the weekends. We also set up and assist in maintaining the ice skating rink. I mentioned beach cleaning, answering emergencies. And then this year, we've partnered with the DDA to assist them in not just the downtown maintenance, but we added watering the baskets downtown. Our guys built a watering system, and we think we can do, with the addition of one more summer person, we think we can do it for about half what the DDA had been contracting in the past. We also, it also leveraged us to be able to support the Blossom Boulevard and keep that program going. And then Blossom Boulevard is going to contribute to that, that summer person as well. The picture on the left is a Barber surf rake that we demonstrated last fall. And it actually, we purchased it, it just arrived today. So the guys were just working on Fifth Avenue Beach today, and it'll be used for, we'll have all the beaches cleaned up before the weekend. So incidentally, when we met with the Corps of Engineers, if we were using our old Charrington, technically that is a permitted activity because it actually is picking the sand up off the beach and putting it through mesh grates and then laying it back down. So that's a sand movement, and we would have had to permit that in the future. But because this machine just puts the tines through the sand, it doesn't actually pick the sand up. It's an important distinction from the federal government. We've been working, and I've got some pictures of this, so I'll explain the North River Walk in a little bit. We also applied to the Manistee Community Foundation for the tennis grant to refurb the courts down at First Street Beach. And then I've got a picture of a pontoon project that we, the picture on the left is a pontoon that was abandoned at our boat launch before the 4th of July last year. We confiscated that, started at the Public Works Garage, and then worked with the city police when the owner had no interest in coming and picking it up and paying the storage fees for it. So we've repurposed that, and our guys this winter put a hoist on it, all the safety features, rehab the deck, and we've already used it this spring to help raise the 5 remaining docks at the city marina that were set too low, and then we've used it to remove trees from the Riverwalk. And then next month we'll be setting our buoys with it out on the beaches. The picture on the right is just an example of the North Riverwalk. It's experienced severe deterioration. We've worked with, or have been working with the J.C.'s. They've made this their signature project for this year, so their fundraising activities are dedicated towards doing some improvements at the North Riverwalk in Memorial Park. At the Parks Commission meeting last week, we also had the Veterans Group attend, and they've proposed some improvements and additions at that park, and so we believe we can work with them together and through some collaboration, and possibly if we get some seed money, leverage that into a grant application where we can do some overall improvements on that park.
Didn't we budget some dollars for some of this work on that park?
Yeah, I think it was $5,000 for us to start clinking away at it. The biggest things are these walkways where you can see here where the pavers have settled and it makes trip hazards. but most of that treated lumber that was put in there 40 years ago is rotted. Most of the retaining walls are broken up pieces of concrete that are stacked. They've served their purpose, but they weren't cemented together. So we've got people picking those pieces up, throwing them in the river, and they've done a lot of vandalism to that park. And then all the landscape items are just are overgrown and need to be removed and reset. The refuse, we contract out the household hazardous waste pickup to Republic Services. We operate the recycling center, which collects mixed fiber, metal plastics. We also allow people to bring their yard waste bags to that location and brush. And then we take composted topsoil that's available to people to take home and use, and there's no cost for that. And we do all the weekly yard waste collection and then composting. I've got some pictures of that. The monthly bulk item has been very successful. It's taken Kathy a lot of phone calls and a lot of explanation over the first few years of that program to get people to understand that they can put out one bulky item the first pickup of the month. But in our experience now is that that's regularly being used and has been very beneficial. 3 years ago, we stopped doing the household hazardous waste pickup because the county offers that program to all the citizens in the county, and our participation in the city was below 2%. So in place of that, we've tried to come up with some more dedicated programs. The first one we did was the tire collection. That was very successful. Last year we did paint pickup, and a lot of that paint was actually taken down and reused, reformulated. This year we're planning an e-waste pickup, so all your electronic waste, computers, printers, fax machines, cell phones, we'll be setting up for collection of that to city residents on June 22nd at the Armory. Yep.
Will TVs and monitors be part of that?
I believe so, but we'll get a list of all the items that are specifically allowed, and those that are not, and we'll do some advertisement and publishing of that soon. So this is just an example of what we haul out in the yard waste bags on a weekly basis, and then we create windrows out of that material. We let it cook. We've been turning it and using the EPA's best management practices for that, and then turn that into good, clean, composted topsoil. The topsoil has been a better quality for us to use, and we use it on all of our projects, and we use it in the parks and dig jobs. But last year, we probably sold about $5,000 worth of that material to local contractors that were very interested in using it. So that money goes right back into the refuse fund and helps keep the cost down. But there's also a requirement by the state of Michigan that we cannot keep that material on site. We've got to record keep how much bulk material is coming in, how much we've got stored at the end of each year, how much finished product, so we've got to move that stuff off the site. And so we've been kind of marketing that to the landscapers.
Well, I do like the fact that you have it out there at the
Recycling center?
at the recycling center, because I have used it in my vegetable garden, and it was great last year. So
Good.
very nice quality, thank you.
Yep, and we want to just keep getting that out there. That's available to the public. When we see it gets low from people using it, we bring in another dump truck load and just keep it restocked, so. Yes.
Are you the contract manager for the actual garbage pickup as well? Or who is responsible for that contract with Republic?
Yeah, technically the Public Works, the refuse falls under the Public Works, but the contract's managed, yeah.
By yourself? Okay.
Just a quick summary in the utilities, so I don't spoil the show next time. On 2018, we pumped close to 300 million gallons of water through 53 miles of water main. We've got 4 groundwater wells and 2 water towers. The treatment plant treated 390 million gallons of wastewater. The difference in that is the wet weather flows that come into the system through inflow and infiltration. We maintain 46 miles of sewer, 13 pump stations. the wastewater treatment plant. The picture on the right is the new Freightliner Vector sewer rotter that we purchased this past year. And actually, I think the old one's sitting next to it, but that machine gets used by each of our departments on a daily basis. With that, I would take any further questions. Thank you.
Concerns and comments, citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement. Citizens in attendance shall be recognized by the mayor for comments. Limited 5 minutes. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read. Do we have anybody that'd like to make comments? Yes.
David Homer, 909 High Street. Council. The width of my plot is 49 feet. He just stated that they're going to change it, amend it up to 25 feet. If I put a 25-foot barrier, I'm standing in negative space. I cannot have it. I'm glad that you allow for cooking. However, what you don't allow for is the enjoyment of a bonfire. You will not allow people that have my income and have my small house in the city to sing Kumbaya by a campfire. And it disturbs me because the mayor is upset about smoking bonfire. Yet, my friend Christian in Kalamazoo, Michigan, 18-year-old, died from inhalation of marijuana smoke. My friend Chris out in New Jersey, 22, died from inhalation of marijuana smoke. I'm probably the only person in this room who knows physically people who have actually died from inhalation of marijuana smoke. I have spoken on this for 2 years. It has conflicted me. One member of the council has actually listened to me doing this. It is very emotional for me. Yet, this council has pushed the agenda for money for the city and greed for the economy to push forth a recreational marijuana. Yet you are denying citizens who have a small plot in the city to have enjoyed a bonfire. So please go back for the work session, consider this, make an amendment. 20 feet would allow 5-foot space for someone of a small plot in this city to put a thing in where they can enjoy a bonfire. Please make an amendment to this before you pass it next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll go to officials and staff. Mr. Taylor, do you have anything additional?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Saylor?
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
Bradford? How about public safety? Bakula, do you have anything else?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. Before we go to council members, we have some cards to pass out. I'll get you.
Brandon Prince, Rick Moore,
Want a plaque?
oh, look, that's Tim Coles, I don't have her. Kelly McCall.
No.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, Sean, it's your turn. Bring us up to date on how we're doing with our SSO, or our sewer overflow or whatever. How are we doing? Are we on schedule?
Milestone in the NPDS permit is started construction, and that's really scheduled for the beginning of July. And we're not going to meet that with phase 1 and phase 2. However, our phase 1, our pilot project we did last year, with the DEQ qualifies for start of construction. So we meet the NPDS requirements. Right now, what we're working on is the rural development grant requires
us to prove that all our structured facilities have right-of-ways and easements, and we're in the process of working with the city attorney on verifying that we have right-of-ways and easements on 2 stations. One is out at the Oaks Correctional Facility, and we're working with the state to get that easement verified, or actually get an easement, and it really is what we're doing. And then the industrial park, we're also, and that's a requirement that RD has a list of items we have to check off, and one of them is right-of-ways on these structured facilities, the pump stations. Even though we're not doing any work at these facilities or in the area, they still want proof of that, and then ultimately the attorney's got to certify we have that. So it's a process we're going through. It kind of cleans up some things in the city, but it's kind of delaying the RD funding, so that could push us off by a couple weeks or a month or so on, when we can start those projects. We've got our RDs reviewed the plans. They're good with the plans. They've signed off on them, and we got to bring it to bid once we get some of these items checked off.
You said construction in July? Did you say that?
That's when the NPDS permit required construction to start, and basically the DEQ said the pilot project we did last year counts for that. So we'd love to start in July. I don't know if we'll really make that because of this right-of-way issue. It's going to push us back by a little bit. But we still plan on bidding it and getting phase 1 under construction this summer, and then phase 2. We're going through the environmental assessment at that down at the plant. It's a pretty complicated thing with the floodplains and the environmental issues with salts down there. And that's probably going to be later this fall or winter when that project would start. So that's the tanks and the headworks at the wastewater treatment plant.
Any questions? Thank you, Sean, for the update.
Keep you updated.
Councilman Pontiac.
I just want to commend the city on their great work with the Tight Lines for Troops. It was an amazing event. I did it last year as a volunteer, and I was just amazed how awesome it was. So I did it again this year. And just want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day weekend.
Mr. Kabowski.
Are they gonna put something in the paper when they're gonna start 12th Street? So I can start parking somewhere else?
I would love to work with Ashland to get an article about that. We'll have the schedule tomorrow, and we'll be able to do an article on that, yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Szymanski.
First, I'd like to, again, I'm sure the whole council, our condolence to Chip Goodspeed for the loss of his father. Also, I'd like to welcome Caitlin Bernard to the community and our team. So welcome aboard. So I think that. And then again, just to address Mr. Homer's comment, I believe that the distance is from side to side is 15 feet. 15 feet. The 25 feet, I believe, was addressing the front. In other words, from the road to your home, having a distance from the road to your home and not from side to side.
Mayor Pro Tem.
First of all, I want to reiterate, I'm really sorry to the DDA board members. I really did miss that. I guess I expected to see a separate email from the DDA board rather than it being in my packet, because that's the way it came the last time. So it is my fault. I totally missed it. You have my apologies. Thank you for correcting me. I feel kind of foolish, but I wanted you to know that I really feel sorry about calling you out on it when it was something I missed. I do want to talk about a couple things. One of the things that was really intriguing about Caitlin's resume to me was that she got her master's at Wayne State University. I'm just wondering how many of those classes for your master's did you have to take at, or could you have taken, or did you take at extension centers throughout the metropolitan area? There's a lot of extension school. Did you take a lot of your master's classes?
No, I took them all at Manistee.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's great. That just made me think about congratulating West Shore Community College for going ahead with their purchase of the Glick building. I think that's a wonderful opportunity for people to take classes here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with it. And lastly, I've been very, very involved and very concerned about the closure of the maternity ward at Munson Hospital. It's been taking up a lot of my time and energy to kind of grasp what's going on with that. I would encourage anybody who is concerned about this to go ahead and reach out to your other elected officials. I've reached out personally to Kirk Vanderwall. He's very concerned about it. I've touched base with the governor's office. They're very concerned about it. I've touched base with Debbie Stabenow's office. They asked if I had reached out to people like Kirk Vanderwall. I would like to see some laws changed to maybe protect rural hospitals from losing services so quickly after acquisition. So I think there's an opportunity for us to keep making our complaint about this and and raising our voices so that maybe we can change some state laws. So that's all
Okay. Ms. Berard, welcome aboard. I'm looking forward to council working with you, city staff working with you. Nothing but positive things are going to happen in the future, I'm sure. The Glicks building, that's a real plus for the community. It's been a long time coming. Can't wait to see what the college is going to do with that. And the tight line for troops was kind of emotional for me. It is every year. Don't know why. I guess it's just when you visit with a World War II veteran who refuses any help from anybody, just wants to get by on his own, kind of tears you up a little bit. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
We're adjourned.